Hi everyone, here we are at part 4. I cannot believe that we're here already. It's been an absolute blast, and thank you all so much for your great comments and your support and your subscriptions. It means so much. Thanks so much. Here's part 4. Just use my 12mm Forstner bit. Forstner bits are fantastic because they cut a really clean hole, just deep enough to pop in these little ferrules. The screw won't bite into the wood, and they look nice. I think there's several stages in guitar making which are landmarks, and this is definitely one of them. What I've done is I've drilled some pilot holes through here, through the neck, so that it won't split the wood as well. So now that fits in there very, very, very tightly, hopefully. And you get a good squeeze, just to make sure it's there. Push it down as well, down the length, also pull down on it, just to make sure it's located, because once this is in, this is where it's going to sit. That one's in. Oh yes, they're going in. That's it. We're in. Wow. So that's it. For the first time, it's a guitar. This is made like an acoustic guitar. So it has that boing. But neck shaping is definitely my thing. When you pick up a guitar in a guitar shop, you immediately put your hand around the neck and go, ooh, I like that. Or you just go, it feels like a cricket bat. This is just where it all happens for me in guitar making, and I love the tools and I love the process. And I think we're also going to do a thing here called a volute. I think it looks classy, but it also does give a serious amount of strength, I believe, to this neck joint, and probably it's why Les Pauls tend to bust around about here. In fact, the original Harmony I copied this from had a similar break and doesn't have this, so this is my piece. So this is the method that I was taught. Make 2 notches. This one, I think on this neck I've made about 25mm from the top of the fretboard to the back, to the bottom of the neck at the back. And this one, the measurement here is about 22mm. I may go lower, but basically what you do is you put these in as depth stops, because it's actually very difficult to get yourself the sense of proportion. So this you just join together. So you basically take it out from there to there, take all this wood out until this is a nice flat line, and then we tidy up the ends and then work the transition into the heel. Lock plane. I think we're at depth, so we basically joined up these 2 gullies that we made, and we've now got something which is the right sort of profile, looking to me like it's actually still too thick here, but we can work up to that. I'm doing this by eye. But what you should really do is draw a line on the side so you know where you're going, and we want to form that volute in that sort of a shape, like that. So we really want to take out all of that, that bit at the top, like that. So we will. Quick shout out for this tool here. This is made in America, I believe, yeah, by a company called Microplane. The microplanes are each one of these little bits of cut metal on here, little spikes, are actually acting as little individual planes, microplanes. I'm not getting sponsored, by the way. This is just a brilliant tool. Mustn't go too deep. Deep enough. Maybe I can do that with a chisel. Sorry about the wobbly camera. There we go, this fella. Just a brilliant tool. I cannot tell you how much I love these things. So I've been removing material around about here to create the volute, and there's my pencil line on the side, and I've worked out between my 2 dips, and I've just taken the material out between them, and that gives me effectively the depth of the neck. That's the neck underway. I'm just going to work at that with Teferi's tools and shape the neck. So for neck shaping, I use a whole variety of tools. This is like a real rasp or a bastard file, as we call them in England, but this is like a razor file. This is really sharp. So what I also use a lot of is spoke shaves. These things are great. This is an old one. Got this online. There you go. Really nice to control. See? This is a particular favourite. It's an old Stanley metal spoke shave, and for some reason it's just perfect. It's lightweight, but it's very, very sharp. It takes off quite a lot when you want, but it takes it off nice and clean. It's taking it off really fast. One thing I haven't talked about is my vice. Now this vice, I don't know any guitar makers who don't have one of these. It's called a pattern maker's vice, and they're sold for a vast amount of money on StewMac, and they're red. You can source them in Europe. They're identical, slightly different handle, that's it. But the actual mechanics, the design is all the same, and it's incredible because these two blocks are swiveling. So they'll grab an irregular object. The inside is covered in some sort of neoprene, nylon-y, plasticky, gluey type stuff, which doesn't ruin the wood. It holds incredibly tightly, and you can do something as daft as holding a piece of wood like this in mid-air. Get one of these if you possibly can. I worked for years without one, and then I got one, and I do not know how I existed without this vice. I use this vice all the time for everything. I'm getting quite close to the fretboard down here, so I'm just going to be a little bit careful. I might change my grip in the vice and start working on the sides independently, but I'm already beginning to feel the neck. And this is something you have to keep doing. You have to keep putting your hands on it, because your hands are great at working out radiuses, and your hand's going to be on it forever. Your hand's the guide. Looking at it, trying to sight down it, works to a degree, but there comes a point where what you need to do is to hold it and feel it. And you can see I've now got the beginnings of a guitar neck shape on it. You've got to keep feeling it, because this is what tells you it's done. This is guitar making. Around about here, we need to start deciding how we're going to do this. Sometimes you do it in the shape a bit like that. Sometimes you do it in a semicircle. Sometimes you do it straight across. I think with this, maybe a semicircle. Just a slight semicircle. Quite a smooth one would be nice. It's all happening. This is a great tool as well. Constantly swapping tools. Yeah. Just work into that. Now I think I've got most of the shape here now. Let's just give it a quick clean up. And I'm very nearly there, I think. Right, so now what I'm going to try and do is just get this a little bit flatter and a bit more curled, and then that will be the volute. A little bit more sharpening up to do on that, but that is what I'm looking for. That's what I call a volute, what everybody calls a volute, I hope. I think I'm going to leave it there. It's getting cold, getting dark, I'm getting tired. And then I'll take it in tonight and I'll probably sit with it in front of the television until I'll have an opinion about it, basically. I'll have an opinion about how thick it is here and what needs to come off where and where the lumps are. Let it sit in your hands and get used to it. And then tomorrow we'll do some more, probably. Or maybe not. So every stage of guitar making has a bit where we can just ruin it, and putting the binding on, we need to cut a little gully around the edge of the front and the back of the guitar, so we can put this lovely binding strip in there with a bit of maple and a bit of ebony, so it'll have a lovely edge to it. Got it done at the top all the way around. We've now got a nice groove, so this strip will go that in there like that, and so that will be our binding. Oh, that's going to look quite funky, I think. Scary. A lot of work could be lost if that went wrong. I think we're there. Just bending the binding, which is going to go around the edge of the guitar body, which as normal just consists of placing it on there and applying the right amount of pressure. And then I check it out and make it sure it's fitting well on my body template, which we made right at the very, very beginning. These channels that the binding goes into, they really need to be square and clean, because you know the shape of the channel dictates the shape of the binding. So I go in there with a sanding block and I clean off any burr as closely as I can. So this is a high viscosity super glue, industrial grade apparently, and I'm just going to stick it on there. It goes off slower as well, which gives you just a little bit more working time. So I'm going to run it into the channel, and then I'm just going to tape like crazy. Just a little fillet, I think, should do it. Right, let's stick this on. Probably get this end on first. Oops. And it's sticking really quickly, so I've got to get this right. Get it into the groove. Get some tape on there real fast. So it's all in place, the binding is glued. It's a quick process, particularly with this viscous super glue. Taking the tape off the sides for the first time should hopefully be a great moment of joy. I firmly believe that it's not the disasters that define us. It's not your disasters that define you as a person or as a guitar maker, but I think it's the way that you recover from those errors that really defines you. Some people can have a disaster and get so angry they just throw it into a corner and stamp on it, and I've been tempted to do that more than once. But sometimes it brings out the best in you. Sometimes your recovery and your repair actually enhances the instrument. And sometimes it's just a complete retrieval of a disaster. But I think that's life. But guitar making is I think very specifically it's complicated, and it's fine work. And if you can retrieve a disaster elegantly, it's a hell of an achievement, and it's very satisfying. I wish I'd gone deeper to get more of this. I'm going to have to shave some of this off. It's somewhat thinner than I imagined it, particularly when it gets around to here. It gets really thin. The channel that I'd actually made in the side of the guitar was not deep enough. As an experiment, I routed the back of the guitar slightly deeper. It fitted perfectly, so mistake. So I'm going to have to do it all over again. Guitar making. So we've got it much deeper. It's much better, I think, much more flush with the wood. It's tiring doing this, particularly doing it twice. It's just the way it goes sometimes. You know, it's better to stop, get it right, than to crack on and make a mess of it and be playing that guitar for the next 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, feeling that you compromised. So you just got to stop. Yeah, it's still light. We'll give it another hour or two. I'm tired. That'll do. Got a bit philosophical there for a moment, didn't I? Sorry about that. Part 5 coming up. Please subscribe. See you soon.